Hey everyone, it's Quickie Baby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm playing on my Plays for Free account. So if any of you haven't been watching all of my videos in the last month, this is a brand new account where I don't spend a penny, a cent, a dime, whatever you want to call it, on the account. Now today I'm going to be focusing on where I feel like I'm really starting to hit my stride with the account. And let me tell you, early on, when I have been playing some of my tanks, stock and with 50% crews, it has been incredibly brutal. It was an eye-opener. I felt like I was all the way back when I was first starting this game in 2011. And trust me, some of the vehicles, like playing the Polish Tier 4 and Tier 5 tanks, I almost wanted to just completely quit. And so I can only imagine being quite an experienced tanker, starting again, knowing all of the ins and outs, and still only being able to achieve like a 30 or a 40% win ratio on these vehicles, just feeling absolutely helpless. What it must be like for a new player to go and play those tanks, probably just give up. Don't know why they're so absolutely terrible. I've already delivered the feedback to Wargaming about why they would just force you to spend the free experience at Tier 4 and Tier 5 on those specific Polish vehicles. But in true World of Tanks fashion, sometimes you also have to go through the absolute pain to be able to enjoy the real treats, right? And this, the Tier 5 Soviet medium tank, well this is a treat right from the get-go. Of course the T-34 would be. I think this was the most widely produced or mass-produced vehicle in World War II. Along with this and obviously the T-34-85, you want to combine those two vehicles. I think something like 80,000 of them were produced, where something more in the line of about 50 or 60,000 M4 Shermans were produced. Now inside the game, of course, Wargaming, why would they not want to have the vehicle that held back the Germans and beat fascism effectively down on the Eastern Front, not be absolutely fantastic in World of Tanks? Now, one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people make when they play the T-34 is they think that bigger is better, and that's just not the case with this gun. If you use the 57mm on this vehicle, you are just massively better. Take a look at this. Your DPM is practically double, while your penetration drops down a little bit. Your damage goes down, but not by much. It's such a huge mistake to be taking the 76mm on this vehicle. That's something that a lot of new players wouldn't even really be thinking about. They're just thinking, oh, I'll just get the big gun. The big gun's going to be the better one. And I was probably one of those players back in the day. Oh, not actually bad there. I didn't tunnel vision. I didn't allow that M3 Lee to come around and flank us, and we go back to going to town on the back of this M6. In fact, this vehicle pretty much has Tier 10 light tank damage per minute at Tier 5, which is pretty outrageous. And even when you're in a fairly mediocre matchup like this one, we're having to deal with Tier 6 tanks as well. Well, actually, it is +2 matchmaking, so it's not too bad. There's only 3 of them on the enemy team. This thing just feels absolutely mean. It's voracious, and what this thing's able to do with getting around with its, I think its armor is about 45mm thick in parts on the vehicle, is just absolutely killer. Now 45mm doesn't sound like a very good thick armor, right? But it's the fact that the armor is so slanted, and that's why this thing was able to be produced so much inside World War II. Because obviously when you make the armor slanted, it's more effective even though it's thinner. I don't know, this is kind of a history talk here, interlacing it inside with World of Tanks talk, interlacing it with some of my free-to-play account talk. All I'm saying is that when you finally do get some of these vehicles unlocked, even though I'm not using premium consumables and I don't have a crew with brothers in arms, I have used the female crew members from this awesome winter event to be able to put them in vehicles that I want to grind along the line. So definitely it helps to have a female tanker in there already with 6th Sense, although haven't really had to use 6th Sense in this battle. It's been more of a reactions battle and just trying to outgun our opponents. I definitely do notice, though, without things like a premium consumable and without snapshot on your gunner and brothers in arms, that the bloom on the reticle is just so much more. It makes me realize just how much this game is pay to win or play to win, whatever you want to be calling it. I think the crew skills in the game are more of a play to win aspect, but they do definitely help. We're talking about kind of 2 or 5% differences here, right? If you've got a really experienced crew compared to a fresh one in pure combat capacity. And it undoubtedly helps. Now, the whole purpose of this video is to really state that I've been really trying to think about whether you have to have the crappy things in World of Tanks to really enjoy the good things, you know, when you have that vehicle fully elited. Is it right that a tank is absolutely horrific while it's stock, Does that increase the enjoyment for when you have it unlocked, or is it purely there as a way for wargaming to monetize by encouraging people to convert gold, to get free experience, and not have to do the real painful grinds of the stock tanks? It's a tricky decision. I think that the vehicle should be a little bit worse at first, and then you should definitely get better and be able to unlock new modules on the vehicles that allow you to play in different ways. But I just think there's absolutely no excuses for how bad some of the tanks are. One thing I've been noticing since I've been playing up the Soviet line is that a lot of the modules are shared between the medium tanks and the heavy tanks. And that's something that even as you go up the Polish medium tank line, they don't even share guns between the vehicles. If you unlock the 76mm, or shall I say the 57mm, I think, on the KV1, you can use it on the T-34 right from the get-go without even having the tracks of the turret, which makes this vehicle absolutely incredible for a player who has made their way up the Soviet heavy tank tech tree first for when they get it. And the T-150, the Tier 6 Soviet heavy tank, is no better example than the pains of playing a tank pretty much stock. When you first get this vehicle, you're kind of making a decision. Do you want to use the 122mm on the tank, or do you want to use the 85mm? And you're pretty much driving around with armor that's similar to what you had on the previous tier, although now you're usually having to deal with Tier 7 and Tier 8 opponents. It's absolutely horrible. Your view range isn't good. Your armor isn't great. You really feel like an absolute useless bag of hit points for the enemy team to feast on. But then you unlock the 107mm gun on this vehicle, which is the same gun that is used on a premium tank 2 tiers its superior, the KV5. And suddenly the T-150 doesn't look so bad. This 107mm packs 300 alpha damage. When you get into a matchup like this, where against pretty much equal and just one tier lower opponents, you're taking off most of the enemy's hit points, of course, if you do manage to hit them. Now, exceptional crew skills and things like gun laying drives and improved vents on this vehicle, which I don't think I yet have unless I manage to purchase them at a discount, really do help with just the horrible aim time that this vehicle has. Nevertheless, when you do connect a shell, all the enemies are going to know about it. Oh yeah, 304 hit points. That is 2/3 of the hit points of the Skoda T24 taken away. And so it just means that this vehicle can finally start to have a role, which is to out-trade its opponents. Now this 107mm, when I'm talking about it, about being on a vehicle that's 2 tiers higher on the KV5, that sounds pretty outrageous. But do you know that this 107mm you can also mount on the KV2? And of course, interchangeable guns, one of the best things about the Soviet tech tree, that when you unlock a gun on one tank, you can use it on the other to be able to unlock modules on that vehicle as well. Maybe you want to use the 107mm that you unlocked on the T-150 to unlock the 152mm on the KV2, for example. But this gun, back in the day, used to actually be on the Tier 5 Soviet heavy tank, the KV. That's right, it was just called a KV. It wasn't called a KV1, it wasn't called a KV2, it was just a KV. And it was effectively the KV2 at Tier 5, and it was absolutely hilarious what that thing could be able to do. I've actually got a video on this channel that you can check it out to see what that vehicle was all like before it was nerfed. Alright, so more about talking about hitting my stride, what I feel about it on this account. Now, a lot of people were kind of watching my early, well, should I say, some of my streams after, you know, the week of premium ran out, after I was no longer playing the T3485M. And I was really, really struggling towards the end of last year on my free-to-play account. It was absolutely brutal stuff, if I'm honest with you. And that's because I was trying to go up a whole variety of tech trees. I was using pretty much 50 or 75% cruise because I wanted to get, you know, that full tanker experience. I didn't have equipment on any of my vehicles outside of practically a pair of binoculars, and if I was lucky, well, obviously a camo net and a toolkit, but if I was lucky, maybe I would buy the vents if they were on a discount from some equipment sale, or you can buy cheap vents for only about 25,000 credits when you think about it on some of your real lightly armored vehicles. But it was an absolute mare, and you just realize how much this game is completely stacked against a new player, of all things. It makes me think about why we need to even have these 100% crews. Shouldn't, like, maybe something the 75% be the default? Why does it need to be that you have to, I guess, just for the convenience and for the microtransactions, to have that little bit of an advantage, right? But when you think about it, it's really expensive if you want to try and unlock a brand new crew with 100% with the gold. If it's a 6-person crew, like I believe the T-150 has, then you're going to be paying 1,200 gold. As far as I'm concerned, that's about like 8 or 10 euros just to be able to play a tank, which is going to be pretty much horrific because it's stock anyway, but at least you're not going to have to deal with that. But oh, horrible stuff. Anyway, talking about seizing the moment and catching our hand, walking in our stride now. Oh, that 40 TP just got finished off. And the Skoda T24, I'm thinking, is he going to come behind me? Of course, I've got a whole variety of vehicles. But check out this. Oh, bad play there. I actually aimed at the side. And the KV-1S looked like he was over-angling his side armor. But in fact, he was just wiggling himself a little bit, I guess, to try and improve his armor. So well played, KV-1S. And then, bam! RNG slaps us in the face. And I'm just regretting missing that first shell now. Because that second one, that was just bad luck to be able to go underneath the tank. Are we going to be able to finish him off with a third? Well, I guess, you know, aiming is for losers, right? Soviet tanks should just be able to just keep blaring forwards and just firing on the move. Isn't that what you're meant to do, I guess? All right, so now I should go to T25 around the corner, and right now I'm thinking clean up aisle 3. We put one round into the Czechoslovakian medium tank. Or yeah, there you go. It is the Czechoslovakian medium tank, the tier 6 with the little auto reloader, or an auto loader, sorry. But luckily for us, he's not going to be able to load another round in, and we finish him off. And yeah, just a solid round for the T150, picking up 2,400 damage in 5 minutes. Decent stuff for this tank. So this was an ace for the T34. We get a Confederate and a high caliber for that. 2,474 damage dealt with 5 kills, 1,336 base experience points, and this would have been a very tasty profit with or without a premium account, as of course I have on my Plays for Free account. Outside of playing during Wargaming, giving away like a day of premium, I'm playing it like I think probably about 75% of people play the game, right? Steel wall and high caliber for the T150. This is actually pretty scary stuff, how close these two games were. 1,187 base, but that's still an ace tanker in this vehicle, showing you probably how painful this tank is to play without the 107mm, and pretty painful even with the 107mm. And again, a tasty profit with or without a premium account, even if you take away the holiday bonus event that I have actually managed to fully unlock now on my free-to-play account, which has definitely accelerated my progress massively with the amount of female tankers I've been able to unlock there, even without having to try and get through the campaign missions. And so I wanted to highlight that it's definitely not all sunshine and lollipops, as you will have seen from my live gameplay that I've been putting up on YouTube of my free-to-play account. Just look at this, 32% win ratio in 25 games in the 14 TP. I didn't have the top gun on that for absolutely ages, and no matter how hard I tried to scout for my friends, it just didn't really work out. If you're wondering how I have an IS-6, that's from a rental code that everybody was able to use last year. However, I don't think it works anymore, so please don't ask me in the comments down below. And this is a rental that they gave to everybody who has a fresh account for completing the boot camp. And the Churchill 3, you can get that by using the code WhatReddit2018, although whether that still works when you make a new account, I'm not 100% certain. Now that we stopped the Spanish Inquisition in the comments down below, so you have these just brutal vehicles like the Lago. I don't understand how I was doing this, even though my damage in the vehicle was very, very, very decent in it. The 25 TP was at about 30% wins until I unlocked the Top Gun, and now we're starting to improve it a lot. But interestingly enough, in my Soviet vehicles, which do share modules between the tanks, and you don't have to be playing them stock, yeah, we can do pretty well in them. And so if you're out there struggling your way through some of the vehicles and you're not buying bonuses to be able to unlock the modules really quickly, I just wanted to make this video to let all of you know that it's not easy even for somebody who can do very, very well on their main account. While there are some vehicles that you can probably get about 50 or 60% wins if you're a decent player in, even if they're stock, there are some vehicles that if you try to play them stock with a 75% crew, that, in my opinion, even the better players out there are still really, really going to struggle. And so when you're sitting there looking at your statistics record, seeing 25% wins, 35% wins in a brand new tank, don't feel too bad. Just try and grit your teeth, bear through it, make use of daily doubles, try and make use of 3 or even 4 or 5 times experience events, even if you get your hands on some kind of a personal booster to be able to make that grind a little bit shorter. Anything that you can do to accelerate your progress to be able to unlock the modules without just doing the lazy approach, getting out your credit card and converting some gold to be able to skip it, is really going to make your life a hell of a lot easier. without necessarily costing you anything. Apart from, of course, your time. And that's something that I have found that I've had to dump a lot into in this free-to-play account. But that doesn't even come close to surprising me. Anyway, ladies and gents, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, give it a thumbs up. But if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, it's time for another World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase on twitch.tv/QuickieBaby. And this week, 886 of you have voted, and the majority have picked the Czechoslovakian auto-loading tier 10 tank, the TVP T50/51. So come along right now as I showcase the entirety of the Czechoslovakian auto-loading tree, so you can see if it's a line that's maybe worth picking up, or alternatively, if you're struggling with it, maybe I can give you a few tips and tricks along the way. So I'm really looking forward to seeing as many of you as possible right now on twitch.tv